Welcome to what was our very first stream of this new segment that we call the GUNzz Range, where we were master debating the ultimate question: who would win in a fight, Marvel's Wolverine or, from the Devil May Cry series, Dante? Who would come out on top? This debate gets very heated as we cover their powers, their abilities, their fighting styles, their personalities. Who do you think would win, Wolverine or Dante? Let us know in the comments below. Sit back, enjoy, and just listen to us rant for a while. Welcome to the SF Files. This is our first stream ever. We are going to be horrible, but we will be entertaining, hopefully. And hopefully, yeah. Well, today we are going to talk, Brother GUNzz. What's our topic today? What do we got?
So today's topic is the GUNzz Range. I am your host, yours truly, GUNzz. As my co-host, we have the Foulest of the South, BogusBird, and my other co-host, we have the Human Gas Gasket, Agent K, and as a new challenger, we have Jay on the scene.
Welcome to the show, Jay. All right, so what are we doing?
So, quick thing, I guess. He is a very special guest. He is someone that we met through the comments. Jay, how long have you been listening?
About 10 minutes.
So, I know, right? It's like, no, I'm like one of those people, right? That's like, okay, I'm scrolling through TikTok and the lives come up, and like 9 times out of 10, you like just scroll right through those things. You don't care. But it was just like one off comment. When you guys were talking, I saw Cell Android 13. I'm like, no shot, no shot. I'm not letting this go.
Man.
Oh yeah, but
yeah, all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Including that.
He went on a deep dive. All of our videos. I think he's caught up to date. He said he's our biggest fan right now.
Biggest fan.
Yeah, so much so he said he wanted to join the bromance. He wanted to join the live stream, argue about how Cell would tear apart Android 13. He would.
No.
Wow. No. We're gonna. No, we're not doing that again, GUNzz. We're not doing that again.
Stop.
Dude, you guys open Pandora's box, man. This is a decade-old question argument that we did.
We will revisit that because today.
Next time, I'm gonna have Nam on my corner because he knows the real DBZ. He's a true fan. He's a true fan.
Okay.
Sorry, homeboy.
So who do we really have today?
So today's on the first episode, we have Wolverine from X-Men versus Dante from Devil May Cry.
All right. And fight. Who wins it? Who got it?
Straight out, it's Dante for me.
Dante. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because so I'll be honest. My knowledge of Devil May Cry is not nearly as much as my knowledge of Wolverine, right? Because I'm a big Marvel fan too, right? But with that being said, I have a lot more knowledge about Wolverine, and I still take Dante because even Wolverine's strongest forms. Because think about it, right? Okay, Wolverine's not. You know what I mean? He's not. But at the same time, his strongest form was I think Phoenix Force, Wolverine. So even if you take all their forms, not even just their base, right? Wolverine's strongest isn't enough to match with Dante's. I mean, in 5, he gets another. What's the triggers, right?
The Sin Devil trigger, yeah. He gets Sin Devil
trigger. He
gets
another one, and it's I don't think he's stepping up for that. I don't. Well, he will, but he might lose.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable on Dante over Wolverine. And with that, I was thinking with Wolverine's healing factor, he might wear him down. Don't get me wrong. I know Dante doesn't take damage, he'll take damage, but he's not too phased by it, but he can technically die. Right. As opposed to Wolverine, he can die. He grew out of a drop of blood. At one point, I think. Yeah.
Wait, was that Wolverine or was that Deadpool?
No, Wolverine.
Well, they share the same
healing factor.
You know what I mean? They're kind of one and the same, unless you're counting the fact that Deadpool got cursed by Thanos. But that's still kind of irrelevant because he still had the healing factor anyway. You know what I mean? Before Thanos did what he did.
Yeah.
But so your argument is that his capability to die.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, if it wasn't for that, 100% Dante. Dante takes the cake. He fights, the kings, the two kings of the underworld, of the demon world, and he takes them out. Now that
I'm thinking about it, yeah. You know what? It seems obvious at first, but I think the more you think about it, if you power scale Wolverine, let's say, if he can fight, let's say, World War Hulk, who is supposed to be capable of like hitting Galactus kind of strength feats, or fighting a Rune King Thor and all that stuff. He's supposed to be at not like a god tier level, but the vibe of he's supposed to be up there, and he can fight that. You can kind of power scale him pretty high in terms of strength.
Yeah.
But I still think Dante takes speed, because your average enemy, right, that you fight in the game, they're stated to be capable of like jumping in and out. They use like the demonic energy to like literally like time warp for a sense, and he can still react to it. Yeah. So it's like it kind of would just balance out, because it's like, yeah, you could be like, Hulk's big problem is, you can be as strong as you want, but if you can't hit your target, how good is that gonna be for you?
Right. Yeah, and that's where the argument comes, I think, is, Dante, he's capable of taking these creatures that are out of this world, literally. They're supposed to be the strongest in their realms. He's light speed fast. He's got the strength, too. Like, he's powerful, They cut dimensions. And Wolverine got, he's cool. He's an
a-hole.
And he got healing factor, But so, can like the demon metals, like say for example, Dante's sword Rebellion or the Sparta, can those cut adamantium?
So those were the three things I was basing this fight on, really, for me personally.
Same.
Wolverine's healing factor versus Dante's healing factor. Their durability, basically Wolverine's adamantium, and basically Dante, he's like half human, half demon.
Right.
And basically the enemies they fight, mainly the bosses. Because me personally, I've only played through the one with Nero. I haven't played part 5.
Okay.
So I was basing it off of Mundus part 2 and part 3 and the Nero one, right?
Okay.
And then the first guy I thought of was the Hulk, how Wolverine's fought him. He's beaten him on some occasions. And Wolverine's always fighting top tier beasts like that.
Right.
And then you also got to take into consideration Wolverine's heightened senses.
I can smell him.
So maybe the demons warping in and out might catch him off guard at first, but I feel like he's going to catch on to it real quick.
Yeah, I think he would adapt to it as well. Because, his sense of smell, for starters, I mean, he's going to catch him eventually. He's going to catch him.
Right.
He's going to adapt to it. He's quick to adapting, right? Like, he's going to, like you said, he's going to catch on. He's going to eventually catch up to, like, well, he's coming from this side, he's coming from that side, whatever, right? Like, he's going to know what's
learn
up.
a pattern.
And once he learns that, and he's got the durability, not just the healing, but with his durability and his relentlessness, dude, he's going to catch him. Yeah. I don't care how fast Dante is. Wolverine will catch him.
And one thing I also tried to put in my mind was his Berserker Rage versus Dante's Double Trigger.
I mean,
I think his Double Trigger is going to be a lot more of a problem than the Berserker Rage. Because, like, you see, the Berserker Rage, the key to why it's a problem is in the title, right? It's just a blind Berserker Rage versus Dante's, his triggers being like, no, I'm in control of this, and, like, my mere presence is going to humble you. You know what I mean? It's a problem, but that would be, like, if he can control it. Like, yeah, Broly is strong and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, but if he could control it, which he can't, it's like that same berserk issue that a lot of characters have, and like Wolverine suffers from that same kind of weakness that a lot of them do.
Right.
But that's more if it's, personally, I think that's if there's more opponents in the field or like his teammates or whatever. But if it's on one-on-one, he can focus at Berserk on Dante alone. He's like the only guy out there, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but like he's kind of just going to be like hacking and slashing as opposed to Dante where he could still be methodical. And then with Devil Trigger active, like it takes him to like an entirely different level. And then like not to mention like Sin Devil Trigger, which will even take him even another step further. You know? Like
but that's only if he can get through his Adamantium though. If he can't even penetrate the Adamantium, it's already a done deal.
But okay, and so I was thinking, I had brought that up, but like I said, they cut dimensions. They can literally cut things like through dimensions. I
feel like they could, because if they're capable of doing something much more difficult, I mean, by default, I would feel at least reasonably they would be able to do that as well. Plus, also, I kind of just had a thought in my head: is this a fight to the death? Right? Or is it a fight to the win? Like, meaning, like, so for example, people have beaten Wolverine before in a fight, right? Like, consistently, right? But has he died from it? No. He just wakes up, like, hours or days later, right? But, like, the fight was won. He just didn't kill him, right? Like, the Hulk is capable of beating Wolverine, like, or at least versions of Hulk. Right? But then at the same time, Wolverine's still here.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So the whole argument of like, well, he can die, it's like, sure, but you'll go down in a fight a lot sooner before you die, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because we were talking strictly to the death. And so another thought of mine was like, say for example, GUNzz, One Piece, Law can take off your head, right? And, you know, that can basically almost end the fight. What's to stop Dante from grabbing the Yamato, cutting the dimension at his head, basically making his head plop off, and calling it a win?
Healing factor.
But
just brought a new head.
Yeah, no, and I get that, but I'm saying like he wouldn't necessarily have to cut through Adamantium if he can cut the dimension right there and like split his head for a split second.
Okay,
you see what I'm saying?
But do you think? Okay, I'm actually not even sure about this. So you say that he cuts dimensions. Okay, like, you know, we've seen it. We've played the games. We've seen it. It happens. Yes. Right. But would you say that's more like an ability, or because I mean, I would think that it's something different. Like, this is an ability that this sword can do, cut through dimensions, not necessarily cut through. Power. Right. Yeah, like a power, but because the way I'm thinking is, I think you're thinking along the same lines, GUNzz. If he slashes at him, I mean, that's Adamantium. I don't necessarily think he's gonna cut through, even with that ability, because that's an ability that he's not cutting through a dimension. He's trying to cut through the Adamantium. Right. I kind of think they're separate.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think a better way to word it then, right, would be not so much that the ability is to cut through dimensions, right, is that he is so strong that he has the ability to cut through a dimension, right? Yeah. So, like, if I swing my sword, right, it's not that the sword's ability is to, like, destroy what's in front of me, right? Okay. It's that I'm so strong that when I swing the sword, everything in front of me is getting destroyed.
All right.
Like, that's what I would argue to that. Plus, like, that's a power of, like, they use this a lot in fiction, literally. It's like a power of, like, presence. You know, like, they got, like, the spiritual pressure in Bleach. They got E in Dragon Ball, right? And, like, for example, when Jiren shows up, the entire void was shaking and everybody's like, what's going on? He didn't even do anything. He was just standing there. Right? There's a certain thing about presence that characters feel when they encounter someone, which I feel like is going to actually really work against Wolverine, since, like, his whole sense of smell and all of his senses, right? That's going to hit him hard. Like, whoa, you know, especially at that level.
Yeah, that's a really solid point, too. Because, like, it's kind of been shown that, like, when he's in front of an enemy that he knows is powerful, he's like, oh, no! You know, this guy's strong. So he's definitely going to feel that with Dante.
Yeah, but he wouldn't back down, dude. He doesn't back down from a fight, really, at all.
He doesn't.
No, he won't back down.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's probably like what you said, like, oh no, you know. But he's still like, let's get down. I think it'll just be the initial start, but once they start fighting, I think he's just gonna forget about it.
I think the only thing that I would cut you off. I'm sorry. Devil triggers, like they would kind of be going a little back and forth, because he'd hit one, then Wolverine would kind of have to raise the bar, and they would have to kind of like battle each other out. I think Dante has more steps than Wolverine does in that regard. I think Wolverine hits his cap pretty comparatively to Dante soon. I think that's just what's gonna pretty much edge him out. The only negative thing I can say about Dante really is just the fact that he messes around too much.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Like, he never fights seriously, and like the only time we've really even seen him fight seriously was when he fought his brother, who's supposed to be relative in power, right? So you've never seen him just one-shot anyone, because he just doesn't care. Like, he's more musically inclined than to one-shot someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, Devil May Cry 5, you see this mini boss. I'm not even gonna say it's the full boss. It's a mini boss. He walks into the room, and this thing is teleporting from one area to another area, and he comes in, he starts spinning his blade, and Dante gets in close enough, and he's messing around with this thing, basically having the blades from this demon shaving his chin because he's just messing around. And then as soon as this thing goes on the attack, he just quick royal guards it, and he goes and he fucks it up basically. And that's just, it goes to show how confident Dante knows his power limits. And so I'm sure if you were to get into a real fight, like with somebody who's on the prowl for the kill, I'm sure he wouldn't start off by messing around at first, I mean, he probably would, but he'd probably realize quickly, all right, this isn't a joking matter.
Yeah, this isn't the time.
Yeah.
Well, is that enough time for Wolverine to get a sense of what he's into, what he's facing? Because, I mean, I guess that would also depend on him. Like, how serious is he going to start the fight? I mean, if he starts strong and Dante's not giving it, will that give him a leg up?
Wolverine, you're saying, starting seriously, or? I think he does start seriously. Because how often do you see Wolverine in a good mood, for lack of a better word? I mean?
There you go.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But I feel like I could picture the fight, where he walks in and he's like mad and he's angry.
Oh, he's angry! He's angry!
And then Dante just kind of laughs it off, like, this guy, he's like very cocky. But then Wolverine gets in a few hits, right? Knocks Dante down. Dante heals. And Dante now realizes, like, all right, wait a minute. Like, he's serious, right? And then I think that's where it's like, okay, let's fight, right? I think that's how that...
Yeah.
The only problem I see, because I know we spoke about Adamantium being so hard, Dante can potentially not even penetrate, right? If Wolverine were to stab Dante, clearly Dante will heal because he's done it before. But if Wolverine were to chop off, let's say, his arm or his hand, is he able to heal that arm instead of like just being a stab?
I don't think that's ever happened.
I would argue... Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just only saying that because in the situation you put out, if Dante starts out goofing off, like from the beginning, and Wolverine just starts like hard and he's like going for the kill instantly, what's to say he doesn't chop off an arm or something?
I think he underestimates him. Because as much as he is serious, Wolverine's also cocky.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
I think he underestimates Dante as... like almost like a Deadpool thing, right? How many times do you see Deadpool, like Wolverine will like cut Deadpool, let's say, right? And he'll underestimate the fact that Deadpool can put his arm back on, let's say, right? And it'll hit him after the fact and go like, oh yeah, and then he'll adjust, right? But that initial, you don't know who you're dealing with yet vibe doesn't set in for him, until after he stabs him and Dante heals, right? Like until after. And I would argue that he could heal a limb. Just because if you see in the game, like when they stab him, they're stabbing him with like massive objects, right? Like pulling huge holes in his body, and it closes up, right? So it's like if he can regrow all his organs and everything, it seems like almost insignificant to just grow an arm back, But, like I would argue that he could.
Wouldn't that just like I get what you're coming from, but wouldn't that just be like if you were to get stabbed, everything is still there and everything can still close, right? But if he chops off an arm, that's falling on the floor.
Okay, but what's to stop him from pulling a Deadpool, just putting the arm back on and letting it heal?
That's why I kind of brought that up, is that he just picks up the arm, kind of does that glue trick, and he, because it's true, because if he can, it's kind of, I'm good.
Yeah, because Deadpool will do that. Like, there's been times where, like, Wolverine will cut his arm off, and Deadpool will just be like, "Oh no, my arm. Let me put it back on." And that goes like that. All right, we're good to go. And he's,
that
we're all thinking about
yeah.
this. Yeah, we're all thinking about the exact same scene where he's sitting there turning the disc. It's like, geez.
That's not how that goes. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
I could picture that. You know what I mean? So when I think this might be a little, I know it's not them, right? But it gives me a very heavy Wolverine Deadpool fight vibe, right?
Yeah.
It does. It gives me that vibe. Not 100%, right? That like the serious versus coffee and the healing and the right. But the only difference is Dante has the triggers, and Dante has. People scale him at a universal level. And arguably, it's a kind of valid point. Like some of his feats are like, I forgot his name, but the guy that they come from or whatever. Because I told you my knowledge on him was crazy. And like he'll fight people who are at a galactic universal level, right? Like he'll fight those people, and he's still here. So it's just like, no, I can handle that,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like even so. So let's say, for example, Dante comes in here,
screwing
around. He's lollygagging, and Wolverine's coming at him with everything he's got. Like, he is fast enough to react to, quick flashes of light. He's fast enough to be like, oh, that might get my arm. Let me pull it away a little bit. And so, let's not forget that over the years, Dante has gained so many different abilities. One of them being basically the time stopping, the Quicksilver. He gets to slow down time almost as if time is stopped. Wolverine gets close enough to doing that, just a quick snap of a finger, and he walks around, punches Wolverine around a little.
Teleporting ability.
Yeah, he does.
One of his abilities, he does a teleport, and you'd have to take it at face value, but like, you can either take that as like Nightcrawler literally teleporting, or Goku kind of teleporting, where he's just traveling that fast that it just appears. I think he's just traveling that fast, like he's just moving.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Now, you guys don't think Wolverine might actually already be used to this type of fighting, since all the mutants he's fought, all the other freaking bad guys, all the different sorts of powers they have? Like, it's so many different variety.
I sold
the time stop.
I sold my case because I said Nightcrawler, and as I said Nightcrawler, I was like, damn.
But the difference is, with all of these mutants, he's only ever fighting one power at a time. He's not used to fighting them all at the same time. So you don't know where he's coming from.
Then it's like, can Wolverine beat the entire... You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Like, and I get it, like, I get what you're saying. He's used to, superpower, or super strength because of Hulk. He's used to super speed because of, Spider-Man or something. He's used to teleporting because of Nightcrawler. But, put those into one character, and you got one dead character.
Good point. Right, because you're never facing all that at the same time. Right, if he fights Nightcrawler, he's not fighting somebody that can be strong and all of that too. He's just fighting that one ability. Very good point. Yeah.
Real quick, what's up, Predo Man, in the chat? I see him. We're talking about Wolverine versus Devil May Cry's Dante. What up? I just want to throw it out there. It seems like a wash, man. It's the more and more you guys are like, it's like Wolverine started kind of strong. He's like, no, he's not here.
So you're saying the Wolverine is not standing a chance?
It doesn't seem that way. I kind of like the moment that you said the second Devil Trigger sin, but no, that's not happening.
Right.
Yeah.
The first Devil Triggers, a maybe, but yeah. It's just too much. It's just too much. Even at base form, Dante is. I mean, he's obviously he's formidable. I think that's even then. Dante.
No, I
think
he beats him at base. I'll give him that. Like a berserker Wolverine will beat a base Dante when he's like effing around, and then he starts to get serious. He'll still beat him, right? He'll start to get a little harder. Right? Because it's like when Hulk fights Red Hulk. Okay, like Red Hulk always starts out much stronger than Hulk, right? Because Red Hulk's thing is fire, right? Fire is instant. I put a fire right here, it's hot immediately, right? Hulk is a bomb, right? A bomb, it can be right in front of you, nothing's gonna happen. But once you hit that point, it's over. Like the fight's over, right? So it's like Wolverine is the fire, where he's starting out the gate serious, like, and he'll out the gate. Dante's gonna be like, "What just happened? Like, what's going on?" Like,
for sure.
My arm is on the floor. Like, you know what I mean? And then he'll pay attention and go like, "All right, I should probably put this seriously." You know what I mean? I think that's what it's gonna be. Is that once he hits that second state and he's tearing up dimensions, and Wolverine's like, "Bro, I'm out."
Yeah. Proto Man says Dante wins.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Proto Man. I think we are on the same page.
Ah, man.
All right, so because I haven't played Devil May Cry 5, what are Sin Devil Trigger's abilities? How does he fight?
So he basically has Devil Trigger times like 10, maybe 20, I don't know how much. It elevates him to like an entirely different level of Devil Trigger. If you want, you can have like little homing missiles as you attack. You can attack from a distance, basically. You could be standing across a room and be attacking. When you're attacking with your sword, it summons like 4 different spectral swords that attack at the same time. So you're not being hit by just one sword, you're being hit by like 5 at once. And then you have, I forgot, it's been a while. It's been like over a year since I've played 5.
Well, he gets off of rip, he gets that amp, right? So he gets like that 10 times 20, whatever it is, like amp on top of everything he could already do. Right, so if Wolverine was matching him at that point, now Wolverine just has to come up with some way to get 20 times stronger in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that, right? But yeah, as he was saying, everything just gets
so much more powerful.
Everything just gets more, right? Which is the whole argument of, Wolverine can handle 1v1s very, very nicely, right? He's proven it again and again. But when Wolverine gets hit with those 20, 30... when he gets hit with those numbers, he starts to slow down, and he's like, all right, like, because it's just a lot. You know what I mean? And I think that the reason Dante ultimately wins is not the fact that, like, he's a better fighter, because I would say that, like, skill-wise, Wolverine takes that, right? That's just my personal take. I think Wolverine takes skill. I think he may even take strength, like, on a good day. Right?
Okay.
But in terms of like speed and ability, hacks, like actual power, right? Because there's a difference between powers and like strength, just muscle, right? Because like you look at the two, one's clearly much more physically strong than the other, right? But like just you have to take the fact that when you get into like this whole demonic energy thing, he's pulling energy from an endless realm. There's no bomb. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like Wolverine could be super strong, but it's not God of it.
Right.
True. Dante can get worn down as well, but not to the same scale, I would say, just from what I've seen, not to the same scale that Wolverine can. Like he will diminish much quicker compared to Dante.
So I forget exactly how long it was, but at the beginning of Devil May Cry 5, I don't think they said it in the game, but in the novels they did. He fought Urizen, which was, the big demon, the big boss of the game, for I think a week straight.
Damn.
It was something like that. It was enough time for V to leave the area because he was like, oh yeah, we're going to need help. So he leaves the area, he goes to where Nero's at, and he's like, hey, Dante needs your help. They get back, and Dante is still fighting Urizen. So he's fighting him for like a week or something like that. And
you're
so
right. I think
you give Dante endurance as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That would be stamina, not endurance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Stamina.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You're right. You can't forget Wolverine is human, and Dante's half human, half demon.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that leg, which, yeah, you're right, absolutely.
I think that's.
Okay, so
I also give Wolverine healing factor. I also give him durability, right? Because you cut him down, but he's gonna get back up. So I give him durability too. I don't know how smart either of them are, to be honest. Especially if he hits that berserker rage where he's just, So in terms of IQ, I would give it to Dante, not necessarily because he's this hyper intelligent person, but just because once Wolverine hits that point, he's not, which is kind of the point, right? So he just doesn't really have an IQ. He's not about thinking anymore. He's just go.
Right. Wolverine only wins if Dante doesn't go Devil Trigger. Dante is cocky, and if Wolverine takes off first, he can scrape him. Wolverine, if he can bleed, we can kill it.
No. You gotta say it right.
Go ahead. You do the honors. Go ahead.
Guns.
no, you go for it.
Oh my god.
I'm not even looking at the thing.
If he can bleed, we can kill it.
Three polite.
That's what he sounds
people
like.
just no, you.
No, so if Dante can penetrate Wolverine's adamantium,
Oh, penetrate.
I say Dante wins. But if he can't penetrate through the adamantium, he's gonna have to go through his whole weapon arsenal pretty quickly, and he's gonna have to step it up to Double Trigger pretty fast, right? But even in Double Trigger, Dante just uses Rebellion or Sparta, right?
Or his new sword, Dante.
So it's
But,
still
but these are devil arms. Don't forget, they're not regular human weapons. They're devil arms.
but that's the question we don't know. Can Devil Arms penetrate adamantium?
I'm gonna say yes.
Because
I don't.
Uru's the only thing that can really cut it, right? Adamantium. The
In
Uru
the
metal?
Marvel universe, the only thing that could really cut was vibranium, right? So those are the two strongest metals. Is vibranium and adamantium, right? Those are basically they're I don't know if one's necessarily stronger than the other, because in Captain America versus Wolverine, he hit a sword and it just scrapes it, but it does not penetrate it. In the movies, right? But they don't penetrate ever. The two metals they can hurt each other, but one's not about to point where if Dante could even just meet the level and not necessarily exceed it, he can still do enough damage to break that. Because again, he's covered in adamantium. He's not, just pure adamantium. They covered him.
Right.
So his bones are still in there. So if he can just pierce the layer, or you know what I'm trying to get at, there's something to be said there, where it's I think the potential for him to break that is there. But I do like that comment that the guy said, because that kind of goes with what we were getting at, was how it starts. How that fight starts. If Wolverine just kind of gets him. But
and that's why I was mainly asking what does Sin Double Trigger do? Because if he has some weird skill I don't even know of that could potentially just destroy Wolverine instantly.
Sneezing?
Basically.
Pause. Okay, now here's another point. So you brought up adamantium versus vibranium. Cap's shield is vibranium, right?
Right.
And so, as far as we know, adamantium and vibranium, let's say they're pretty even. Thanos comes in, MCU, he going to town on the shield, and he's breaking it apart.
Right.
He gets it down halfway down, and that's not a human metal. Neither are the devil
arms.
arms.
It's the same, I believe, right? It is the same metal as Thor's hammer.
Okay, yeah.
That's what
I was saying. Uru.
Because when they it's Uru, right? And it's because you remember they went to the dwarf planet, and he said they just came here, and I made his. Right? So there's evidence where it's he gets his weapons of the same metal. That metal.
Oh no. But in Endgame, he goes before he has the Infinity Gauntlet, and he has the sword. So he hadn't been to the dwarf planet yet.
So so it's not. He didn't get it. Okay.
You're right.
But the thing is, that's the cinematic universe. What about the comic
also
universe?
True. I mean, honestly, the comic universe is stronger.
Yes,
for sure.
So I don't think anything's ever broken the vibranium or adamantium, to my knowledge at least, in the comics. So it really depends which Wolverine we're talking about, the comics or cinematic universe.
Comics, because cinematic would just get wrecked. He won't last. He won't outlast base Dante.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hugh
no.
Jackman.
No, you're right. You're huge. Extra points.
Wins.
He'll last. He's the GOAT.
With that being said, I think if it's a fight to the win, like Jay said, I'm gonna give it to Dante. If it's a fight to the death, I don't know that Wolverine can wear him down enough to kill him. Like I don't know that Wolverine can pull the kill.
So it sounds like you're winding down a little bit. You already said. But let me ask you this. See if this would change anything. Okay, so I'm thinking like Castlevania, the whip is specifically meant to kill demons, right?
Right.
What about Dante's weapons? All his arsenal, are they specifically meant to attack demons? Because if they are more powerful against demons, that same strength is not going to apply towards Wolverine.
No, so if I'm not mistaken from what I understand, so say for example, Devil May Cry 1, you have regular swords which are, they're not regular swords, they're still devil arms, you know?
Right.
But if you go into the demon world, the underworld, they get stronger. But they don't necessarily get weaker against anything else other than demons if you're in human world, you know what I mean? It's still a strong weapon.
No, yeah, it is, but I don't think it's ever been stated if it's specifically meant to kill demons or not. Not to my knowledge.
So,
what will have the higher durability? Dante's weapons or Wolverine's adamantium? Which will break first?
That's what I'm trying to question.
I'll say that Wolverine's energy claws will last longer. That I would give. Like I feel like, let's say Dante hypothetically just shredded him down, so there's nothing left, right? You know what would be standing? His skeleton.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what would be, like, but in the Marvel Universe, to my knowledge, right, when it comes to demonic weapons, I know that they work on anybody, right? But they have an extra ability to hurt, like, spiritual enemies. So, like, there are certain characters in the Marvel Universe that can only be hurt with a spiritual weapon, right? So there's that. And that, I would say, like, okay, like, if Wolverine fits into that category, that'd be another thing. He doesn't. Like, he's a mutant, yeah, but, like, at the end, he's human. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So there's no, I don't think that it would affect him, but I don't think it would give him any added bonus, right? I think it would just be, if I'm hitting my sword against your claws, I think that his claws beat his sword, right? It may take a couple swings. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think ultimately, his weapons break first, but then he gets new weapons, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I mean, Dante has an arsenal, Like, literally, so he's kept from, so back when he was, like, bounty hunting, like, before he had the shop, before he had, like, his official, setup, he was already collecting devil arms, some that he got off screen, and he's kept every single devil arm to date, except for the couple that have broken against, like, other strong demons. Like, for example, the Cerberus, the ice nunchucks. Those he broke against a fire demon that was supposed to be one of the King of Demon World's right-hand men. But Devil May Cry 5, he gets King Cerberus. So, I mean, like, it's not like... he loses some, but he does gain some more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Dante only carries, like 4 or 5 max point? It's not like he's going to have everything all at once. He's not going to whip it out of his butt.
Right. But, I mean...
Because ultimately, I feel, if anything, it'll come down to Beowulf. If Dante goes through all his weapons, like his 5 that he has on his body.
I mean, he has Balrog now, which is stronger than Beowulf.
I don't know.
But I would say arguably. But, like, what's to stop Dante from quickly splitting in a dimensional rift or something, going to his arsenal and picking out a couple new weapons?
like a pocket? He just has space. Just...
like cyberspace, yeah.
It's that whole, but you see what I'm saying? It kind of, in a weird way, it kind of goes in a circle, right? It's because, like, we try to give, because, like, I'm fair, right? So it's like, I want to give Wolverine as much as I can, right?
Mhm.
But
Right.
there's only so much he can do. Versus
Right.
Dante, he's like, bro, like I could just keep going. It doesn't matter. You break. I'm like, all right, wait a second, and he just gets something else. That's like, because that's just how they wrote his character. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like the same reason that Deadpool beats characters. It's not because he's initially strong. It's just because he just can't. Like that's literally it.
So is Dante's dimensional power thing? Is that?
Yamato.
Oh, well, yeah, I know Yamato, but I don't know if he had another one. Is that a tear? And
Yes.
let's say like time and space, or is it like a portal?
It's a tear in the dimension in time and space.
So who's to say he can pop open the hole and grab something and pull it out if it's just a tear?
Well, he
Well,
can go through it.
because Virgil's used it to teleport from one area to another. It's a portal too. It's
So
a
he
portal.
has control over where it's going. If he
Yeah.
chooses.
Yeah,
But isn't that only like a certain like distance?
I don't think so.
I'm not
'Cause
sure.
like imagine
I don't know.
he's not like Batman where like Virgil like cut a rift and walked through it and he's like hiding behind a branch of the Clifont fruit. He's not like, oh, I hope they don't see me so I can escape. Like he traveled from one area to a long distance area.
So why didn't Virgil just use that when he was in the demon realm to get out?
He wanted to fight Mundus, and when he lost, he was chained up and tortured until he lost his humanity side and he was turned into a puppet basically. So he was
but that makes
cocky
sense.
after his fight with
If
Dante.
anybody's-
Yeah. So after his fight with Dante, literally right after his fight with Dante, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go fight Mundus," and he lost. That's why he didn't use it to escape.
Let's see. Proto-Man says, only Yamato can penetrate Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I will stand on Yamato, only weapon that can kill. Dante's weapons he can heal only Devil Trigger and Yamato kills. But his guns won't kill. It's like Deadpool's guns can't kill him. Okay, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
His guns are just gonna plop, 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 plop.
That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. That Arsenal find anything
Until he
that
gets
can
to
hurt
that
him.
last one. Right.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. I think that's because I'm telling you, it's eerily similar. It's obviously different, but it's kind of similar to like that whole Deadpool Wolverine debate, where Deadpool will just light him up, and Wolverine's like, you know what I mean? It doesn't irrelevant, right? But then, which is kind of weird. I mean, at least in my opinion, you'll have him swing at Deadpool, and he'll have a sword fight with him. Like, and the swords are fine. It's just like,
Yeah.
what? You know what I mean? So it's like, if those swords are fine, which I don't know what they're made of. I don't know if he, in his spare time, but like, at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen him do anything special with that. I know he has the ability to, like, break the fourth wall and kind of, have things go the way he wants. But since I'm just comparing two different fights,
Right.
because they're in the same universe, right? So it's easier to make the comparison if they're, following the same rules versus, okay, we have to apply, this versus rules versus this versus rules.
Right.
So Deadpool versus Wolverine, none of his weapons are effective, but then yet his swords kind of clash against walls, right? And they do cut him and they do mess him up. I don't think Deadpool will ever fight against Wolverine, except, rewriting things and breaking the fourth wall, right? But in actual sport, I think Wolverine beats him. But then,
I think so.
it's like now if you say, okay, but now let's say Deadpool has the power to turn into a super mega ultra demon, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like right now you're just adding so many layers to a fight where neither of them were really gonna win, because neither one had an edge per se, right? But now you're giving one of them. I think that's how I would put this fight. Is there is no real clear winner, because it's like, okay, like his weapons can't hurt him, but he can't really hurt him, and there's a little back and forth. But then Dante does this one thing, and okay, it's like, yeah, now it's kind of.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
how I would
I
put it,
think that's a good way to put it, honestly. I think that would probably be the best way to put it. And like I was saying earlier, BB, you did not change my mind. My winner, at the end of the day, is going to be Dante.
Come on, little puppy. I'll take you out for a walk. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. I can't argue that. That's hard to. I think we kind of called it earlier. Wolverine taps out at probably that first Devil Trigger. Base form, he could probably take him. He can hang. Once he goes Devil Trigger, I think it's over. And forget it if he goes Sin.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
I think Wolverine can take on Double Trigger, the first one, but you guys are saying Sin is way stronger, so I don't know from there. So let's put it like this: Wolverine versus Devil May Cry 1 Dante. Who wins?
Devil May Cry 1? He's
Devil May
already
Cry
seasoned.
He was.
I was gonna go through the games like individually.
Like, okay, which game does he get to before?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, yeah, I see. Well, then you could really just. I'm gonna kind of re-say what people said. Whatever game he hit that form in, that would be the game where.
So part 5. So
Is that
Wolverine
5?
will win.
So technically 4.
I feel Wolverine will win because on that one, all Dante really does with his double trigger is just use Rebellion and like the gun still basically, but they just have a power amp.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I feel Wolverine wins that one because I still haven't questioned the durability of his weapons.
Well, okay, so keep in mind, Devil May Cry 1, he's seasoned and he takes on the king of the underworld, Mundus, and wins. He comes out on top. I think Devil May Cry 3, where he's younger, he's the 18-year-old, I think Wolverine can take that Dante. I'm a big fan of that one, probably my favorite entry in the series, but I think Dante loses that one.
Okay, but right there with what you said, that's one where Dante beats Virgil, who has Yamato.
Yes.
Which kind of just compliments Dante.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I'm saying minus the weapon, he still won. Right? Like that's kind of like.
Yeah,
but
what
he
I'm
beats
saying
somebody
is,
with the weapon that has the power to tear. What was it?
but
What?
they're unseasoned. He doesn't use it in that way.
In the right hands. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I know how to use this weapon to its full extent and you don't, you know what I mean? There's a pretty high chance that, let's say for some reason you have the edge, like I'm still gonna win because, I just know how to use this weapon. I'll give you the weapon, and you'll okay. Ginyu takes Goku's body, boom, right?
I was just
okay?
thinking that. Exactly that.
Right? Like, and he's just like, why am I so weak? And he's like, just get it, Ginyu. You know what I mean? It's like because it's like you have it, but like you can't use it all because you don't. No, that's exactly Ginyu Goku switch.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. But yeah, like I said, GUNzz, they're 18 years old, they're unseasoned. Virgil still doesn't use the Yamato to his full potential. An older Dante takes Wolverine, I think, in any game. Whether it's 1, 2, 4.
I will add, at the first game, when he is a seasoned hunter, but it was the first time he learned to use the Devil Trigger. I think at that point, Wolverine can still take him, just because he's so fresh to the ability of Devil Trigger.
No.
I would agree with that.
He gets Devil Trigger in 3, which is his youngest form.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're right. Well, they retconned that, I guess. Then they had to have, because I remember specifically it was the first time he did it.
I feel it might just be a different type of Devil Trigger, because in part 3 he actually transforms into like a demon.
Yeah,
right.
each
orange
has its own form of Devil Trigger. Like, for example, if he uses Cerberus, he doesn't have the wings on his back and he glows blue. If he uses Rebellion, he does have the wings and he has like horns. If he, like for example, or the one from part 1, he just glows blue until you use the attacks. He turns into like a black demon. If you use the Sparta and turn Devil Trigger, he turns into Sparta, into the image of his father.
Yeah, still same ability, same strength, just different look.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter, I guess, the look of it.
No, I guess that would fall under like strategy, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not so much that one of his forms is stronger than the other. He's using different tactics, right? So like that's why I would say he still hangs, because I do. I think that, especially like a Berserker Wolverine, I think what ends up happening, Wolverine has the fight at first, and then he puts Dante in a position where he feels cornered, and then Dante's like, all right, like
that's it. Game over.
I think, I think it would be one of those where it's like Wolverine's feeling good. He's about to. I think it's like, all right, done. And I think we took that.
The winner is Dante.
And so with that being said, guys, you as viewers, listeners, I think you should leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think, who's going to come out on top. To let us know why Dante wins.
or why you think perhaps Wolverine stands more of a chance than we give him credit for.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Maybe I'm sure there's something we missed over.
Yep.
Anyways, this was fun. Just let us know. Thanks, guys.
We made it.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Later.